Frank, we've just had the Parker Andrade press conference. It was quite interesting. How did you feel that everyone won?
I think it went well. It's just a shame we couldn't get him here in person. Unfortunately, his passport had expired and he couldn't get one in time to be here for today. But I thought under the circumstance it was really good, and I think both of them were a credit to themselves. There's no trash talk. They both got very confident about the fight. It's a big fight for both of them. It's a very significant fight, even though it's an interim fight. The winner of it becomes the mandatory to Canelo, and if Canelo decides he's going to stay at light heavy, then they'll be declared full champion of the WBO. So I'm really looking forward to it. It's an intriguing fight. You've got a guy in Demetrius who's fought in the Olympics. He's a two-time world champion. Two weight world champion, and he's coming up for the third time now to super middleweight. Whereas you've got Zach, who I think has done brilliantly in his last 5 fights. 4 of those opponents have never been stopped, and he stopped them. He's a naturally big super middleweight. I think he could probably box at light heavy, really, and I think that's going to be quite an interesting. I think it's going to make a lot of interest in the fight, that he is actually, with Demetrius, that he's going to have to cope with an actually naturally big guy who can punch, who can box, who's got a good chin. In front of his home fans, Derby County, Pride Park, the fans behind him. At the moment, we've had real great response for the tickets. So I'm really, I'm looking forward to it. And I think, we got behind our man in bidding what we did for the fight. We've made it happen over here, so he's got everything in his favour, and he's just now got to go and do the business in the ring, albeit against a good quality fighter who's beaten, I think, 3 guys from over this side of the pond already.
Yeah, he's on quite the streak of beating British and Irish fighters. But on a word on Zach as well, it's going to be his first time in his professional career fighting in Derby. It must fill you so much joy to be able to give him what he said would be a dream to fight at Pride Park. You're giving him his dream.
Well, it gives him a lift. I mean, we did a similar thing with Carl Frampton in Belfast. He had the same thing. He's desperate to fight there, and we delivered it for him. Josh Warrington, it was the same thing. He wanted to fight at Leeds United's ground. We did the same thing. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that this works for Zach. It inspires him. Not that he needs inspiration. He believes it's his destiny, and I hope it does. Though I hope it gives him even more of a lift. But he's a quality fighter. I'm surprised he went under the radar for so long. And we've done a great job in giving him a platform. He's done a brilliant job in showing the fact that the audiences what he's got. And I think if he wins this, I think he'd go on to become a big British superstar. If he wins this, then you've got to start looking at, can he be as good as Joe Calzaghe? That's how I feel about it. I think he's got that similar. He's like a little bit similar in some ways to Joe.
I think we just have to have a quick note on the fantastic gesture from yourself and Zach of giving £10 to Derby County. How did that come about?
Well, it was Zach's suggestion. One, it's a double. It's good for everybody concerned. I mean, it's a win-win all round for everybody. First of all, is that we hope it's going to attract the Derby County football fans that come over and watch it, and if they do come over and watch it, 10 quid goes back to the club, which are got dire troubles at the moment, but it goes to the club and it will be used by the club and nobody else, and help steady the old ship there for them. So, that's what it's all about. And I think for Zach, he just wants to get the fans behind him, and he obviously wants to give something back.
On a different note, it is the 1st of April. No jokes here, but it's a monster month of fights coming up. Can you just give us a little lowdown? Obviously not the big one. I think we're going to touch a lot on that in the coming weeks. But we've also got Cunningham's European Defence. That must be an exciting card with Nathan Heaney and a lot of very talented Midlands fighters. What are your thoughts on this?
It's a cracking card. I mean, they're really good fights, again, in the Midlands, where we've worked over the last few years. We've built it. We've been running regularly there, and we've been building a following. All these guys have got great following. And as you say, that's a great... for Jason, it's a tough fight, but a good fight, and he's got the home advantage. So I'm looking forward to that. I think it's going to be a really good night's boxing for the fans who are there, and obviously for BT.
Then at the end of the month, we're going to have Eko Usman and his British Commonwealth and IBF European Defence at York Hall. It's going to be quite a change from Wembley.
It is, but you know what? Fighters have to start somewhere. They've got to start out somewhere, on various shows at certain stages. with Esserman, he's an excellent fighter. I think he's a great prospect. He's done everything that's been asked of him. In fact, in his last few fights, I think he's come on leaps and bounds. When he comes through this, I mean, you know, a great domestic bout would be between him and Conor Benn. That would be a brilliant fight to make.
And then lastly, quick note on Daniel. Obviously, Don King has won the purse bid. Have we had any information on that? Any updates?
He's put the deposit in, as required under the WBA rules. He sent us a contract that which we'll have to be a lot of amendments to it, and that'll be sent back. And his obligation is to put that fight on in June, and we're just awaiting for the date and the venue, and we can get on with it and get Daniel back in the swing. He's been sidelined for a while now. One reason was he couldn't fight on the card that we were involved in the States because of the problem he had with that he hadn't had his jabs, his COVID jabs at the time. And since then, obviously, he's in that number one spot, and we couldn't jeopardise that spot by letting him fight, and then suddenly they call the purse bids and he's tied up, and therefore they go to the next available. So patience has been there. We've all worked hard, and hopefully now Don steps up and doesn't sod around and gets the fight on in June, and he's got a great chance of becoming a WBA regular champion.
And we can assume Daniel will go to the press conferences.
I'll carry him there. He'll want to be there. No, there's no problem. We're professional and we'll do it professionally.
Perfect. Thanks for your time, Frank.
Thank you. Cheers.